I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another video, and there's another paid request, this time from Eric. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of video, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a film from around 1984 called The Bounty, which is a take on Mutiny on the Bounty, which based on a book long ago. And also, there were a couple movies before this. One, I believe, with Errol Flynn. For those who remember Errol Flynn, way back in the day. I know another one had Marlon Brando in it. This one, and what makes this film, at the very least, a decent watch, it's decent because of the cast. Anthony Hopkins, Mel Gibson. Those are your two stars. You also have Liam Neeson. You have Daniel Day-Lewis. Some recognizable people in the cast. The music is by Vangelis. That's the same people that did the music for Blade Runner. And so I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, I'm not really sure, story on Mutiny on the Bounty. And then I hear this music playing, I'm like, whoa, what's this music? And I'm like, oh shit, it's Vangelis. Great music. Big, huge plus for the film. I would say that's the three huge pluses is the cast, Anthony Hopkins, Mel Gibson, Liam Neeson. Laurence Olivier has a small part in it. The music by Vangelis brings it to a few notches above than it could have been. And it's a good looking movie. Cinematography wise, the director did a nice job showcasing a bit of the scope when they're out in the water on the ship, or when they get to the island, get to Tahiti, and how beautiful it is, which is why, because the story is, if I understand, in the older versions of Mutiny on the Bounty, the Lieutenant Bligh, which Anthony Hopkins plays, he's much more of a villainous character. Much more of a monster, as in horrible, terrible, and the mutineers are much more heroic, and yes, let's overthrow this guy's a piece of shit. While this is a much more of a fair play, to the point that you don't really know who to root for, and that might be something that people might be a bit perturbed by. I guess it depends how you feel. I thought it made it a bit interesting. There's a few stuff I wish they could have done more of. I think it would have made it better. But it was interesting where you can see both parties' point of view. But before I get into that, Anthony Hopkins does a great job as Bligh. When the film begins, there's a court-martial, and pretty much he's telling his story about how he lost his ship called the Bounty. And he's retelling about he was friends with Mel Gibson's character, whose name is Fletcher, which seemed, again, from what I understand the previous movies, they didn't really make the big deal that they were friends. I could be wrong, I haven't seen them, but from what I read up, you do get the sense that these two are friends, and In fact, Anthony Hopkins got Mel Gibson to be on the ship with him, and even during the journey, got Mel Gibson up a rank or two. And they did a ship together, and pretty much their goal is to sail from one place to another to bring this breadfruit to Jamaica. And Anthony Hopkins goes, well, along the journey I can circumnavigate the globe, and that'll be even more of an adventure. But because of certain things and certain predicaments, and then this food has to be prepared properly, otherwise it'll be spoiled and ruin the whole thing, they have to go to Tahiti, and they have to stay there for like 2 months. And while there, you get the sense that Anthony Hopkins, he's disappointed in how this journey's going. He's disappointed because he's not able to do what he wanted to do. The guy who was his second command, Daniel Day-Lewis, was a coward, so that's why he got Mel Gibson to be second in command. And then, he's just not sure what to do. Meanwhile, Mel Gibson and Liam Neeson and the crew, they're enjoying their time in Tahiti a bit too much, to the point that when it's time to go back, they don't want to go back. So this is an age where in this military there's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of do this, do that, and don't talk back. But now that Mel Gibson and them have had fun with this paradise for a while, and Mel Gibson met someone, fell in love with someone, I think she's even pregnant with his child, they're even more adamant. And Anthony Hopkins, again, they both made their mistakes. And Anthony Hopkins, I don't look at him as a villain. And it seems like the movies now look at him as a villain. He's just a guy that, for a bit of time, got overzealous in his discipline. We got to maintain order. Hey, this is not a laughing matter. Some people left. That's not what you're supposed to do. You guys clean this. It's not good enough. And he just too much into that. So this rising tension, very much helped by Vangelis' score, which creates a great mood to the piece. You get a little bit. I know people downplay Mel Gibson's performance. I don't think Mel Gibson was that bad. I mean, I like Mel Gibson as an actor. Maybe because in this film he had to put a little bit of an accent, and I'm not saying Australian, his native accent. I mean, like a little bit of, try to be a bit of the proper accent, and that's not really Mel Gibson's forte. So I wouldn't say this is one of his best performances, but I thought he did fine. And I like the day before the mutiny, they have this nice tension between each other. Stop threat, it's a warning. Oh, there are rumblings around, are they? Yeah, I've heard there's some rumblings out there. Like, I'm not doing that great of a job, but yeah, Anthony Hopkins, he's like on his last nerve, trying to maintain order and discipline. And the reason I say Anthony Hopkins isn't really that much of a villain is on the journey up there, he's very fair. On the journey up there, he's a very fair leader. He fair enough that there's little issues here and there, but he's not really that mean, that rude, that crude on the journey up there. And the men, for the most part, seem to be in decent spirits. It's not like he's whipping people from day one and uncalled for, and there's a little bit of disciplinary actions. More so because of the whole code of what Lieutenant Bligh and the military outfit they worked for. Just, that was the whole problems back to the days, the way the military was, and how just uptight, and how much on duty, responsibility, not really honor, I mean that was part of it, but just on discipline, and doing this, and that's what you do it, and no talk back, and no easy way out, cue the music, But again, the men seemed in pretty decent spirits. It's just, I guess during those 2 months, he lost it a bit. And you also see Mel Gibson's point of view, where yeah, it's like if they want to stay, let them stay. If they don't want to go back, don't let them go back. And Anthony Hopkins is like, hey, you're gonna thank me later, and I'm prepared to forgive and forget. And but then again, the tension's rising more and more. It's like two people at odds, and no one wants to back down. And Anthony Hopkins is the leader, so he's not going to back down. And then Mel Gibson think this is what's best for him and the bits of crew, and he won't back down. And again, neither one is really a villain. Even during the mutiny, you see that Mel Gibson. Again, that's why I can't say Mel Gibson gave a bad performance. Just those scene when the mutiny happens, Mel Gibson's in tears. He's like, "I'm in hell. I'm in hell, sir. Why are you being so damn reasonable now?" And Anthony Hopkins tried to talk him out of it. He's like, "You stop. If you say anything more, boy, I will run you through." I'm like, okay, that's definitely the pinnacle of the emotional scene between the two. And then when the mutiny happens, it shows their separate ways, and it goes in between the little journeys where Mel Gibson and the crew go back to Tahiti, and they realize they can't stay there, so then they're going to try to find another island. And there's a possibility that even Mel Gibson will get a mutiny and onto him from the crew that's left. And then on the flip side, Anthony Hopkins, he does. It was a nice way to humanize his character, where they could have easily villainized it, where the men that was with him, the men that went with him, he's doing his best to get him to land. These are the point where a guy freaks out, and Anthony Hopkins tells him to calm down, and then he goes, "Give this man my share of food." And that's what I mean, like, despite his issues, despite his infallible, that's the one word, despite his deficiencies, at the end of the day, he's a decent enough leader. It's just, Mel Gibson and the crew found that taste of more freedom, and they wanted to pursue that, and there was just a big conflict of interest. And I guess one of the issues I have with the film, where I say it's decent, number one, it's over 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours and 12 minutes. I don't think it needed to be over 2 hours long. I think there's 15 minutes you could have cut out of this. Also, the way it ends, it leaves a lot of loose ends, and there's stuff I either wish they would have followed up, or I wish they would have put the period over the I, the exclamation point. And spoiler alert, I have to go into spoilers for this to explain. The way it ends is Anthony Hopkins gets the crew to land, while Mel Gibson, the people are ready to mutiny against him. Liam Neeson has stayed behind on Tahiti, and Mel Gibson goes, "You know what? They could hang you." Hey, who knows? Liam Neeson says, "Maybe I'll have one of those lucky faces. Yeah, they won't notice me." And then ultimately the men do find an island, and then they burn the ship so that no one sees it passing by. And then even when the men goes, "Oh, I guess that's it. I guess we'll go back to England, huh?" And then Mel Gibson has this kind of look on his face. And then the guy just text, "Oh, 18 years later, they found the island, and all it was this one guy, some women, and a bunch of kids." And then it's kind of like a question mark. Did the men murder each other? But some people say maybe Fletcher left and got back to England. I don't know, it just felt like, okay, well, what happened to Liam Neeson's character? Did he get found out? For what I understand, looking into it myself, since the movie didn't do it, for what I understand, the people who stayed behind Tahiti did get found and then did get arrested. I don't know if they got killed, I don't know if they got hung, or what happened. It ends with Anthony Hopkins not getting the court-martial which I didn't really care about whether he did or not. And yeah, I don't think he was a villain, but the fact that that was the wraparound was, will he get the court-martial or not the court-martial? The only thing I got out of that positive is Anthony Hopkins has a good moment where a tear goes down, where he's found to be innocent. But it's like, okay, we don't know what happened to Liam Neeson's character. Again, based on the movie. You could look it up in real life, or the people that was based on, but I mean, in the movie, just, that's loose end. Even the movie's like, well, maybe Mel Gibson was murdered. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he left for England. The last bit is him with the men looking on the ship that burned up, and then text. And then, also, it would have been nice for, like, and I know this could be fictitious, but let's be honest, I guarantee you there's some fictitious stuff here based on, because I believe this is based on a real event back in the day. I believe. I could be wrong. Could absolutely be wrong. But that's what I kind of gauged into it. And if that's the case, there's going to be some fictitious stuff in it. There just are. So if that's the case, add in a moment where Anthony Hopkins, he's looking through stuff and he finds a picture, or he finds something of his friend Mel Gibson's character. Maybe a sense where he doesn't agree with what Mel Gibson did, but he understands. Maybe that type of thing. And same with Mel Gibson. Like, maybe Mel Gibson has a thing that was Anthony Hopkins, and, you know, he grabs it and puts it in his pocket. Like, maybe Anthony Hopkins gave him a gift earlier in the film, and then Mel Gibson has it, he's about ready to throw it away, and he puts it in his pocket, keeps it. Same with Anthony Hopkins. Or even bit narration, I don't agree with what he did, but I understand why. I may not agree with it, but I understand it. And maybe something like, I hope one day I never have to catch him. If I have to, I'll catch him, but I hope, you know, part of me one day, I'm trying to work it out, like, there's a part of me that hopes I never catch him. Like, again, just something extra at the end to that whole friendship part of the story. I think that would have been nice to have a little bit of that at the end. Even if it's a negative, let alone a positive. Just something. Not this whole court-martial wraparound. So again, the way it ends, the little bit of loose ends, it was just like text, and after over 2 hours, it just felt like, oh, that's the ending. It just felt like a weak ending. Like a weak way to end it. Like, even, let's face it, again, type of these stories, they don't put fictitious shit in it. Just something about it, I wish there was a bit more. I'm like, well, over 2 hours and this is how it ends? Anthony Hopkins did not get the court-martial, he's happy. Mel Gibson crew burned the ship, they're on the island, and then text. Yeah, just something about that seems weak. Weak sauce. I don't know how else to put it. But it's a good-looking movie, cinematography-wise. Vangelis brings a great amount of mood to the score that very much elevates scenes. Again, people give Mel Gibson crap. I wouldn't say it's one of his best performances, but I thought he did pretty decent. Like I said, especially the scene of the mutiny. Anthony Hopkins, he does a good job as well. He's a very solid actor. And again, it was interesting that they didn't make each one like a total villain. Which is funny, because I think Mel Gibson did an interview, like a written interview years later. He said one of the mistakes of the film was that maybe they should have made Mel Gibson's character the villain. And they should have made him more villainous. Which I thought was interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, but I thought that was an interesting take with Mel. He said that was the reason why the film didn't work. Maybe that's why it'll be a problem with some people where, well, who do I really root for? Like I said, I thought it was a bit interesting, but I think if you added a bit more of that at the very end, like a creme de la creme, a finality to that whole friendship angle, like some of the stuff I said, or something else entirely you could have done, I think that would have made that even more of a better follow-through. And like I said, over 2 hours is a bit too long in the tooth, but The Bounty wasn't that bad. Wasn't as bad because I went like, this doesn't seem like my kind of movie. But you know what? It's a fairly decent flick. I forgot who directed it. Let me look it up real quick. I had it written down and I forgot. No, not the county. The Bounty. Not the county. I don't know. There's a movie called The County. If not, I'm surprised with how many movies have. There's a lot of movies that have the same damn title. The Bounty. Roger Donaldson. That's right. I knew he seemed familiar. He did Species, right? Yeah. He did No Way Out with Kevin Costner. Cocktail with Tom Cruise. Cadillac Man with Robin Williams. The remake of The Getaway with Alec Baldwin. Species. Dante's Peak, which has grown on me. Dante's Peak has grown on me. The Recruit with Al Pacino. And he worked with Anthony Hopkins again in a film called The World's Fastest Indian. He did The Bank Job with Jason Statham. He did the November Man with Pierce Brosnan. He did a film called McLaren. Oh, it's a documentary. But yeah, I mean, I liked Species. I liked No Way Out. Cadillac Man is fun. I did Dante's Peak has grown on me. So he's done some decent stuff. This was his fourth film. He did 1977 Sleeping Dogs. Sam Neill, Warren Oates. Never seen it. Film called Nutcase in 1980. Never seen it. And a film in 1981 called Smash Palace. Yeah, never seen it. Smash. Hit or smash. Pass or smash. I mean, it has good notices. 7.1 IMDb. But I don't think it did that well. No, it was a bomb. $25 million budget. 8 or 18 million worldwide. They don't know if it's 8 or 18 million worldwide. Either way, that's a bomb. So, there you go. And yeah, this was produced by Dino De Laurentiis. Dino De Laurentiis. But, I wanted to look to see if there's any other info. There's another director, David Lean, who's going to do this, and David Lean wanted Christopher Reeve for the part Mel Gibson played. I thought that was interesting. If Christopher Reeve played the part, yeah, interesting. But then that didn't work out, and then Dino De Laurentiis met Roger Donaldson at first to do the sequel to Conan the Barbarian. And then they got to talking. He did a script for Conan. He didn't like it. But then, hey, you were talking about this thing called The Bounty version of it. Let's do that movie. Yeah, here's what Mel Gibson says. Mel Gibson described the making of the film as difficult because of the long production time and bad weather. I went mad. They would hold their breath at night when I went off. One night I had a fight in a bar, and the next day they had to shoot only one side of my face because of the other side was messed up. If you see the film, you can see the swelling in certain scenes. Anthony Hopkins, who had battled alcoholism until 1975, when he became abstinent, was worried about Mel Gibson's heavy drinking. He said Mel is a wonderful fellow. He has a good future. He's in danger of blowing it unless he takes hold of himself. Mel Gibson agreed with the concern and added his admiration for Anthony Hopkins. He was terrific. He was good to work with because he was open. He was willing to give. Anthony Hopkins is a moral man, and you could see this. I think we have the same attitude. Roger Donaldson says him and Anthony Hopkins clashed during filming, but then would go on to work together in The World's Fastest Indian many, many years later. Okay, here's where Mel Gibson The major difference between our film and the other versions is that none of the others point out that Bly and Christian were friends. They'd made voyages together before they sailed on the Bounty. And while they were on the Bounty, Bly demoted another officer and promoted Christian, who was at that stage nothing but a midshipman, and made him second command. What interests me more was to explore how the relationship deteriorated from that point to where Christian leads a mutiny against Bly. It was kind of a fresh look at Captain Bly. I thought they said Lieutenant Bly, but... And I think of all the renditions of who Bly was, Hopkins was probably the closest. Stubborn, did not suffer fools, but he was brilliant, had a lot of bad luck. Okay. I think the main problem with the film was that it tried to be a fresh look at the dynamic of the mutiny situation, but it did not go far enough. In the old version, Captain Bly was the bad guy, Fletcher was the good guy. But really, Fletcher was a social climber and an opportunist. They should have made him the bad guy, which indeed he was. He ended up setting all these people adrift to die without any real justification. Maybe he'd gone island crazy. They should have painted it that way. But they wanted to exonerate Captain Bly while still having the dynamic where the guy was mutinying for the good of the crew. It didn't quite work. I can see what he means as I read the whole thing. Maybe it would be more successful if one was good, one was bad, and successful box office wise. Successful as in more commercial. Instead of the gray area. I don't know, just the gray area was interesting. Again, sort of this, you can see both point of views. Like, I do agree with he says they didn't go far enough, but in a different aspect. Like I said, at the ending, if they... And culminating more of that friendship, as in, the final moments of the movie be sort of this comparison where they both have final thoughts on the other. Like I said, that'd be a nice exclamation point for the end of the movie. I think that would have made the movie feel a bit richer. Again, the court-martial wraparound, I don't think that was needed. I really don't. You didn't even need a court-martial thing at all. You could have just had where it starts and then it ends with Anthony Hopkins gets to land and then he's pontificating. And that could have been the text. Like that, his tailor went to court-martial. He was not relieved of his duties. So yeah, I just would have, the third act, the ending, I would have done a bit differently. Overall, not a bad movie. Sorry I went into a bit of the trivia, but I just thought some of it was interesting. So, anyway, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Not a bad movie. If you like Mel Gibson, Anthony Hopkins, and you can deal with the length of the film, it's definitely at least worth a look. For the performances, two good actors. Liam Neeson doesn't have a lot to do, but he is supporting there. He does pop up from time to time. There's really not much to his character other than he's an angry character. That's pretty much it. There's really not much that you could describe of the character other than that. He gets angry at times. He gets in trouble at times. First time we see Liam Neeson, he gets in a fight with someone because they're in his seat. But again, he's in the film sporadically. Not a whole lot, sadly. And then, like I said, the music by Vangelis and the nice production. The money was spent fairly decently. Whether it be like the ship and the storms, and they're going through the storms, all done practically. Again, the beautiful looking locations of the islands and the beaches and the water. No green screen, folks. Well, before that. So, but it's not an action film. If you're expecting an action film, you're not getting that. So, I don't know, I just popped in my head that some people might think this is an action film. It's not. It's more of a historical drama, give or take, so take that for what you will. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.